I was still a young man when it happened. It was the kind of story that people whisper about over the fire at night, a warning to those who think the dead have no voice. But I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because I was there. It happened in Nwokocha, a quiet village nestled between the great forests of the east and the rolling hills beyond. The kind of place where the morning air smelled of roasting maize, where the elders sat beneath the great silk cotton tree to tell stories, and where the spirits of the ancestors were never far away. The woman's name was Adanna. Everyone in the village knew her. She was strong-willed, the kind of person who never bowed her head for anything. Her husband had died many years before, leaving her with only her son, Ikenna, to call her own. Life had not been easy for her, but she carried on, working in the fields, selling her cassava at the market, and raising Ikenna with all the love a mother could give. Then one night it began. She was preparing to sleep when she heard it. A voice, soft but clear, calling her name. Adanna. She sat up, her heart hammering. It was not Ikenna. His deep breathing told her he was fast asleep in the next room. The voice had come from outside. She hesitated, then slowly rose and stepped to the door of her hut. The village was silent, except for the distant croaking of frogs near the river. The air was thick with the smell of night-blooming flowers, but there was no one outside. She told herself it was nothing. Perhaps she had imagined it. But the next night, the voice came again. Adanna. It was soft, insistent, calling her out as though from just beyond the shadows. Again, she opened the door and looked out, but she saw only darkness. The next morning, she told one of the older women at the market what had happened. You must ignore it, the woman warned her. When the spirits call your name at night, it is never for a good reason. If you answer, you might not live to see morning. Adanna tried to dismiss it, but the voice did not stop. Each night, it called her, growing more persistent. Adanna, always just outside the hut, always in that same whispering tone. Then one night, she made a mistake. Who is there? She called. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the voice spoke again, closer this time. Do you not know me? A cold shiver ran down her spine. She slammed the door shut and did not sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, she went to the elders. They listened to her story in silence, their expressions grave. Finally, the oldest among them, Baba spoke. There is a spirit that walks this village at night, he said. It calls to those who have unfinished business with the dead. You must think carefully, Adanna. Is there anyone you have wronged? Anyone whose spirit might call you now? Adanna shook her head. She was an honest woman. She had lived her life as best as she could. But something about Baba Eze's words stirred an old memory. Her father, he had died many years ago when she was just a girl. But in her grief, she had not performed the final rites as tradition demanded. In her haste to move on, she had neglected to offer the kola nuts and pour the libation for his journey to the ancestors. Could it be him? Baba Eze nodded when she told him. It is him. The dead do not rest when they are forgotten. That evening, under the elders' guidance, Adanna prepared the offerings. A calabash of palm wine, 3 white kola nuts, and a cloth of deep indigo. At midnight, she stepped outside and placed them at the foot of the great silk cotton tree, the place where the spirits were known to gather. Then she spoke, her voice trembling. Father, if it is you, I have not forgotten you. I give this offering so you may rest. Forgive me. The night air seemed to grow heavier, the wind whispering through the trees like a sigh. Then for the first time in weeks, the voice spoke not as a whisper, but as a sigh of relief. I hear you. And then nothing. The silence that followed was so deep it was as if the earth itself had exhaled. From that night on, the voice never called Adanna again. She knew in her heart that her father had finally found peace. And so in Nwokocha, we tell this story to remind ourselves the dead are never truly gone. We must honor them lest they come calling in the night, seeking what is rightfully theirs.